What's up, snappers? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to a brand new season of Marvel Snap. I'm DDDREWSKY. We're gonna be looking at the brand new card H.E.R.B.I.E to see if he's worth their precious resources. We're gonna be looking at his key Synergies Counters and some decks I brewed for him. But wait, before we do that, please like the video, please subscribe to the channel. I do weekly reviews of the brand new card in Marvel Snap, so if you don't want to miss out, hit that notification bell right now. And let's get back into it. So now the question is, who is H.E.R.B.I.E? Let's take a look. So H.E.R.B.I.E in Marvel Snap is a 2-cost, 3-power card. With each turn this is in play, swap to a new activate ability until one is used. So the first activate card is called Program 1. It's an activate. Next turn you get +2 energy. The next one is called Program 2. It's another activate. Give 2 of your cards at each other location +1 power. The third activate card, which is called Program 3, is another activate. Create a rock here, set its power to 4. And we have our fourth and final activate card. It's called Program 4. It's an activate ability. Double this card's power. So throughout all the changes of his ability, he should be a 2/3 unless you buff him. I love the creativity of this card. It has a lot of different activate abilities that can give you energy, add more power, even set a rock to power of 4, which is really interesting. He has a lot of different utility cases that can make him a really good 2-cost card. So I kind of want to break down the cards individually because there's a lot going on with a lot of the different activates that he has. So the first activate that I want to talk about that is the most valuable in my opinion is Program 1, which is the activate. Next turn you get +2 energy. Obviously energy is really good in Marvel Snap and you can use that for your own benefit. Maybe you want to ramp out a bigger cost card, or you want to just play out more cards out on the board. That activate is really good. So the second activate card, which is Program 2, is an activate. Give 2 of your cards at each other location +1 power. I believe that card gives you a lot of flexibility of where you want to place certain power. Maybe you have, the left or right and you want to add more power to those lanes, then I think that'd be really cool to, if you want to target a certain card, then you could kind of plan it out on how you want to add that power to those cards. So I think that ability honestly is pretty good. It's not the best, but definitely a very good, valuable activate. So Program 3 is another activate that creates a rock that sets its power to 4. I believe that is another very good ability because that effectively makes H.E.R.B.I.E a 2/7, which is crazy. I think that stat line is really good, and obviously there are ways to get rid of that rock, or you could buff that rock. There's so many different possibilities. There are ways to manipulate it and have it as a benefit on the board. And the fourth and final activate, or you could call it Program 4, I think it's pretty good. It's double this card's power. So it really depends if you can power up H.E.R.B.I.E before you activate him. Obviously, if there are ways to boost him up, I will show some synergies or some decks that could make that happen. But I believe definitely it is valuable of an activate. I wouldn't say it's on the top of the list. It might be like 3rd best. So to give these activate cards or programs a ranking, I would say the activate with the +2 energy is number 1. Definitely more energy is really good. The second one I would say is the give 2 cards a +1 power. I think it's definitely second best because it is a little bit random, but you could kind of, plan it out correctly. And then the third one I would say is creating a rock at 4 power. There are ways to make that power grow, or you can get rid of it. I don't know. It really depends on the situation. And then the fourth one I would say is the doubling this card's power. Obviously, you do need some steps to get H.E.R.B.I.E's power up before you activate them. So there are a little bit of steps, but I wouldn't say it's really that bad of an activate card. Now let's take a look at the pros and cons of H.E.R.B.I.E. So the first pro that I want to talk about is that the character gives multiple ability options. I love the flexibility of H.E.R.B.I.E. A lot of different abilities. There are a little bit of similarities with the +1 power and doubling power, but in a sense, very flexible in a way. The rock adding power is very interesting, and then doubling the power of H.E.R.B.I.E is really cool. So I believe that if you like cards like Nika Minaru or cards that give multiple abilities, then H.E.R.B.I.E is definitely your card. Another pro about H.E.R.B.I.E is that you can choose the ability that is most desired. It really depends on the situation, on if you want to have that double power or if you want to get more energy. It really is great that you can decide on when to use a certain ability when you want. The last pro that I want to talk about is that it creates power or energy. Both of those type of abilities in Marvel Snap are very valuable, so definitely a very positive thing about Herbie. Now let's talk about the cons. No control on which ability appears, relying heavy on RNG. So just like Nico Monaro, it really depends on your RNG or when you can time certain events of the abilities. But there are going to be some cases where you're not going to get the ability that you want. So again, you are relying on RNG. So another con about Herbie is that it might not count towards the end of turn archetype. I'm talking about the archetype that is brooming and looming about with Invisible Woman and Mr. Fantastic. Those cards are end of turn, right? And you would love to duplicate the ability possibly of Herbie as an end of turn card. So I'm gonna say right now from the text, reading the text, it's not looking like it's end of turn, but essentially it is. So I'm hoping once Herbie is out, we can do that test to see if that interaction works. But for right now, I'm assuming it's not gonna work together with Invisible Woman or the other end of turn cards. So possibly it might not work. So the last con that I want to talk about is that character got buffed before release. That's always definitely a very scary and warning sign of a card being very weak in Marvel Snap. So this is right before this card has been released. It used to be a 2/2 and now it's a 2/3. So maybe the card underperformed under testing. So you have to be careful. It might be a warning sign of this card actually not being good from Secondainer's eyes. But hopefully that the +1 power definitely helped out Herbie. Now let's take a look at the key synergies and counters for Herbie. So the first synergy that I want to talk about is Surge. Surge is an example of a card that works well with Herbie. Adding power to Herbie. Herbie likes the plus power because Herbie's activate the program 4, I believe, is the one that doubles up the power of Herbie. So if you could juice up Herbie before activating Herbie with Surge, very good. Patriot is another great synergy with Herbie. Of course, Herbie creates a rock with one of the activate cards in his kit, and you should be able to add more power with it with Patriot. Wiccan is another great synergy with Herbie. Getting that max energy from Wiccan playing on curve is great, and you can get more energy with Herbie with his activate. Now let's talk about the counters. Herbie is an activate, so Red Guardian loves activate cards, so he will stop those type of cards. Shadow King is another great synergy against Herbie because Herbie adds additional power to those 2 cards or adds more power to himself or even that rock. So definitely Shadow King, be careful. Selene is another great counter against Herbie because Herbie is 3 powered and Selene does -3 powers. So imagine if Selene hits the Herbie, then Herbie, you won't be able to double up that power. So it's gonna be very, very rough. Now let's take a look at the decks that are brewed. I think they're pretty fun and competitive. Let's take a look. So the first deck that we have is called the Powerful Herbie. This is my take on creating energy and creating a lot of power for your list. I believe Herbie will work well in this list because of the energy and power that he creates. So for this list, you want to aim to activate program 1, 2, and 4. America Chavez is great to add power to this list, adding that +2 power to Herbie or any of the cards here in this list. They will definitely enjoy that. Zabu is awesome because we have 4 cost cards in this list. Getting that discount is going to be tremendous for any of the cards that you hit with Zabu. Mr. Fantastic is our season pass card of the month. Definitely fits very well on this list because either he can give out the -1 cost or +2 power. Any of those abilities is definitely great, especially with all of the power that we're trying to generate with this list. Mr. Sinister is a great target in this list to get more power. You definitely can add more power with him with America Chavez, Mr. Fantastic, Surge, Fastos. All those cards definitely power him up and then play him, and then his clone should have that same exact power. Surge is just one of the best 2 cost cards in the game. Getting that similar ability of the -1 cost and +1 power, if she can power up cards like Herbie or Mr. Fantastic, all the cards here in this list are a great target for Surge. Herbie, like I mentioned earlier, you definitely want to aim to use program 1, 2, and 4. Those abilities are great with this type of list. Brood is a target just like Mr. Sinister. You definitely want to juice up Brood, and then the Broodling should have the same exact powers, and it's very similar in a way that you treat it Mr. Sinister. Fastos is here to do something very similar to Mr. Fantastic and Surge. Getting that discount or +2 power is going to be really good in the deck. Shang-Chi and Enchantress are our counter cards in this list. You could use them to counter all the big power cards on your opponent or heavy ongoing list. Galacta and Gwenpool are very similar in a way to power up the cards in this list. You use Galacta to play cards right after, and then Gwenpool are for the cards that are in your hand. But you definitely want to aim to power up cards like Mr. Sinister, Brood, Herbie to juice them up and then play them out. Now let's take a look at my second list. So this list is called Herbie at the Zoo. This is my zoo archetype. I believe Herbie will work well with this list, especially having that rock. That program is definitely the program that you want to aim for with Herbie. Wasp is here because she doesn't have an ability and Patriot works well with Wasp. Squirrel Girl is to fill up our lanes and it has a direct synergy with Mockingbird, and of course her squirrels have no abilities, so Patriot value. Dazzler is here to fill up the gaps in our lanes. Surge again is one of the best 2-cost cards in the game and definitely has that ability to add more power to Herbie or to other cards in this list. Herbie, like I mentioned, you definitely want to aim for the ability of create a rock here, set its power to 4, or any of the other 3 abilities are good too, but getting that rock and then being able to power up with Patriot and the other cards here in this list like H.E.R.B.I.E and Blue Marvel, definitely tremendous value with that rock ability. Patriot has amazing synergy in this list, aiming for cards like Wasp, the Squirrels, or the Ultron bots. Shauna is another great card to fill up the lanes with 1-cost cards. You can power them up later with Khazar and Blue Marvel. The Ancient One is definitely our fun card in this list. She is definitely flexible, but if you can duplicate the ability of Patriot, Khazar, Blue Marvel, or even Dazzler, I think it's worth it. Khazar, of course, is a staple in a zoo list. Any of those 1-cost cards in that +1 power is definitely very underrated. Blue Marvels is definitely very similar in a way where that +1 power goes a long way. Ultron is our fail-safe in this list. If you can't fill up those lanes, then Ultron with those bots are going to fill up those lanes. Mockingbird, like I mentioned, should get heavy discounts of this list with the Squirrel Girl squirrels. Shauna's 1-cost cards definitely has a lot of value in here. Now let's take a look at my third and final list. Now this list is called Herb Energy. This is my take on the Wiccan style energy list. With this list, I believe you should be able to play on curve, and I believe Herbie will add more benefit of getting that energy with him. Maria Hill is a great first turn play. Getting that 2-cost card, being able to curve out correctly for Wiccan is tremendous. Quinjet is tons of value with this list with all the cards that we're generating. Getting that discount is very underrated. Snowguard helps the curve of this list. Getting those 3-cost cards of the Hawk and the Bear is going to help out with the curve. Shadow King is our only counter in this list to counter our opponent. The main activate that you want to aim to get with Herbie is that +2 energy. The other activates are obviously okay, but definitely getting that energy to help out this list curve out better is definitely the main goal. Hawkeye is here for her arrows, and obviously the arrows add a little bit more flexibility of being able to play on curve. Victoria Hand has great synergy in this list with cards like Maria Hill, Agent Coulson, Frigga, Hawkeye K Bishop, and even the rock that's been created from Herbie. Definitely amazing synergy with that +2 power. Speed is a great pairing with Wiccan, especially when you're been playing on curve. That power should be really good with speed. Agent Coulson is one of the best 3-cost cards in the game. Getting that random 4 or 5 costs has direct synergy with Victoria Hand, and it could potentially help you out curve out for Wiccan. Frigga is awesome in this list because you can use her to copy a certain card that you really want to duplicate, like any of the cards that have been generated, or maybe even a Moonstone, maybe even a Wiccan. There's so many different options. Moonstone is a great addition to this list. A lot of great synergy with Victoria Hand, Speed, Quinjet. And then we have Wiccan here to be played on turn 4. Hopefully you can play on curve correctly and get his max energy. Now let's take a look at the seasonal series 5 pack that is featuring Herbie. So Herbie is with Merlin, Human Torch, Kid Omega, The Thing, and Invisible Woman. So we have a few cards here that are from the previous month, Merlin and Kid Omega. Herbie is coming out on the 8th, Human Torch is on the 15th, The Thing on the 22nd, and Invisible Woman on the 29th. So to speak on the previous season cards like Merlin or Kid Omega, if they're worth picking up, I would say Merlin is definitely a must-have. His skills are very flexible. If you like Clog or Junk, definitely a must-have. But his skills, even the ones that change location, I believe that one is definitely very valuable. So Merlin, definitely one of the best 2-cost cards in the game for sure. Definitely must have. Unfortunately, I have to talk about Kid Omega. I know he left a big sour taste in a lot of people's mouth in the community. If you like Destroy, if you like Phoenix Force, Nimrod style list, then definitely pick up Kid Omega. But I would say he's definitely not a must-have in this current moment. But again, if you love Destroy, definitely go pick him up. Human Torch, The Thing, and Invisible Woman are coming out in the future. I will talk about them when they're about to come out. Remember, guys, to have 5k tokens before opening this seasonal series 5 pack. You definitely don't want to miss out on certain cards that you can potentially get, or you could even spend 6k just for Herbie. Now let's take a look at the community prediction for Herbie. So the community has said S tier 15%, A tier 53%, B tier 24%, and C tier 8%. So the community overall believes that Herbie is an A tier card. Here is a community review from Amiska. Thank you again for your response. They said, Herbie seems fantastic. On board Nico Manaru. Easy generic 2-drop that, while a bit random, will always have a relevant activate available. The energy gain is the real powerhouse here, but the rest are just great icing on the cake if you miss it. You know it by turn 5 if you need to activate it or not as well. It's just great to have a card that at a base can either be a 2-3 plus energy or a 2-5 across 2 lanes, or at least 2-6 or 2-7. Very powerful and flexible. So I agree with this statement 100%. I believe that Nico Manaru is definitely a great similarity with Herbie. Of course, Herbie, you have to play on the board. Nico definitely has the advantage of that her spells are shown to you in your hand, then you could play the card. So in a sense, there is a huge negative of not knowing what, activate you're going to get from Herbie. So, and yes, of course, the energy is definitely the one that you definitely want to aim for. The other ones are really interesting in a way, and it helps you brew, decks in a more creative manner. Thank you guys again for your response. If you want to be featured in the next video, make sure to follow my community posts about the brand new card in Marvel Snap. And thank you guys again for your feedback. Now let's take a look at my star ratings for Herbie. So for competitive, I gave him a 3.5 stars. It is very dependent on RNG in a sense where you're not sure what activate you're going to be getting, right? But overall, I would say that most of his abilities are pretty good. There are some situations where you're like, oh, I want a certain activate, and it's going to be a bummer when you don't get it, right? So I would say for competitive, 3.5 stars is fair for him. For fun, I gave him a 4 stars. I believe that getting that activate that you really want is going to be a huge dopamine hit. So I believe a lot of people are going to enjoy that. Flexibility, 4 stars. You saw the decks that I brewed, very flexible. In a way, Herbie is a utility card, so essentially he could be in every deck, but just to be safe, 4 stars. For future changes, I gave him a 1.5 stars. I believe that he's fairly balanced. He did recently get buffed before released at +1 power, so now he's a 2-3. I wouldn't say that he's overpowered or by any chance, so he's not going to get nerfed. But if anything in the future, maybe a buff. Now let's take a look at my final review of Herbie. Is he worth a snap and skip? Let's take a look. So for seasonal series 5 pack, is Herbie worth it? 4 stars. I would say if you really enjoy his utilityness, or if you want to get him day 1, I would say that, yeah, sure, why not? Get him from a series 5 pack. For the series 5 pack, which is called the Collector's Series 5 pack, 4.5 stars. I would say Herbie's definitely a card, if you get it by accident, definitely worth the value. So 4.5 stars is good for him. For 6k tokens, I gave him a 3 stars. I don't believe he's worth 6k tokens personally. If anything, you should definitely get him through a series 5 pack. My overall star rating for Herbie is a 4 stars. And with that being said, with everything that I mentioned, I would say Herbie is a snap. I believe his utility is off the roof. I love the activate ability where it changes. It's really cool and dynamic in a way. And hopefully in the future that he works with the end of turn archetype, like I mentioned. Hopefully he does. I believe that doubling the power or getting that energy from Herbie is really nice. I love that Herbie kind of makes deck builders creative, right? In a way where you can use his ability in a lot of different archetypes. So I would say flexibility is really off the roof with Herbie. If you like that kind of card where it's very like a machine army knife where it can do kind of anything, Herbie is definitely your pick. So what are your thoughts on Herbie? Am I completely wrong? Did I miss any synergies? Did I miss any decks that he works well with? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this video useful, please give it a like, please subscribe to the channel. I would love for you to be a part of this amazing community here on YouTube. And I'll see you guys in the next Snapper Skip. Happy snapping.